This week, we're racing in Portage La Prairie for the first doubleheader of the year. The first 3 events of the season have racing on Sunday only. Portage La Prairie and Gimli are double headers, which means 12 races in a weekend instead of just 6. Portage is an important weekend because there are a lot of points on the table and potentially a lot to lose.
Well, today was an interesting day. The first race went all right, won that from, you start on pole and win. That's not too hard to do just because it's hard to pass. And then overall today, won 3 races, 2 seconds and a third, and stretched my lead by 4 points. And that sounds good, but my tires are basically worn out, and tomorrow is going to be slipperier than it was today. And I think it's going to be really tough to kind of keep it together. So I'm expecting to lose some points tomorrow. And I, don't have a ton to lose. So we'll see how that goes. Overall, the event's really good. Lots of volunteers, lots of support from Portage La Prairie, and the track's good. And it's actually ice racing this year. There's no cracks or any flooding or anything, so that's really nice. And yeah, the racing's been pretty good. We had a little bit of a change in how we're doing things. The last few races we've been mixing the studded and the rubber cars. And then for the first 2 races we went back to sort of the standard way of splitting them up. So the studded run, then the rubber run, and it keeps going like that. But then we tried that for a couple races because this track's quite a bit faster than some of the other tracks. And there's a few more cars, so we thought maybe just for a safety point of view it'd be better to split them up. For the 3rd race, we joined them back together, and I was totally fine with it. It actually worked really well for me, won that race, but there was, a lot of incidents and little taps and hits and stuff, and it's just because the visibility's so bad with so many cars. The snow's really blowing around, it's really hard to see, so it's been a bit of a problem for some of the guys. And I mean, it's just kind of luck of where you are on the track when you end up coming across slower traffic, or when the studded cars are coming up to the rubber ones can dictate how that goes. So overall, it went okay, but I'm a little concerned about tomorrow, and I'm using tires from a couple years ago, which seem to be, they're not great, but they're better than what I've been running so far. And I think the big difference is because we're not running with the studded, when you run together, they're continuously chewing the track up, so you don't notice if the tires are kind of starting to lose their edge. But once we start doing just rubber cars all together, you really notice it, because at the end towards the end of the races, it gets really, really slippery. So I guess the game plan for tomorrow is just get out front and get a lead in the first 2/3 of the race, because I'm going to start losing a lot of time in the last third as it gets slipperier. So I just have to get a gap going and just try and defend for the last 4 or 5 laps, and hopefully I can win a couple races and not hemorrhage too many points. The old tires from a couple years ago. The big difference, they're 15s and they're Bridgestones. So they're actually pretty grippy, but they're a lot heavier. So the driving style is really different. Like the other ones, if you got on the gas too soon, they'd be spinning up. But these ones with the extra weight, you have to be on the gas sooner to get them, because there's a bit of lag. Also, they're taller, so it changes your gearing a bit. Whereas on the 13s, the gearing's perfect, and on this, it's a bit too tall. And had some other issues on my 13s too. One of the valve stems was leaking, so it's kind of it was tricky just trying to make sure I had enough air, and so at least I don't have to worry about that. And a couple other little car things. The starter's starting to go. I think it wouldn't start right away this morning. It was just clicking. Then it fired up. So hopefully it's not a problem for the rest of the day, and I can get it fixed before Gimli in 2 weeks. So the 13s are shorter and quite a bit lighter. Like the rims are about the same, but the tires are a lot lighter. And also these tires, the sidewalls are softer, so they kind of bend and flex and give and kind of mold to the track a bit better. The Bridgestones are a much stiffer construction, so that's also a little bit different. But one thing I have noticed is that the car seems to be good on the brakes. So I can go really deep into the corners, deeper than I'm used to. So that's probably an area where I can start picking up a little bit of time, and hopefully that helps out a bit, because it's not so good exiting the corners. We just finished the third race, and got second in the first, first in the second, and second in the third. And the tires aren't working great, but it's not as bad as I thought. And basically it's just you gotta do really well at the beginning, because the tires start to go off towards the end. So the key is a good start, because it seems that you know, if Mike's got a couple seconds on me after a few laps, I can maintain that, but I can't bring it down. So start's going to be everything in the last few races, and just a little damage limitation until I can get some tires from this year. Well, that's a wrap on Portage. The last couple races were pretty intense. The last race there was big contact in the first corner. The guy in the on pole clipped the snowbank and all of a sudden was going slow, and then got rear-ended by Mike, and then I rear-ended Mike. A bit of a pile up, and then Mike and I had a pretty intense battle. He had the lead for most of the race, and I just got up the inside of him on the last corner of the last lap, and I guess I ran out of room a little bit and ended up on the snowbank, but I didn't get stuck, so we'll just call that a racing incident, I guess. At the end of the day, we both ended up in the penalty box for stuff that happened in race 5, I guess. So basically that means that after everybody else goes, we get let go from a standing start. Everybody else is a rolling start. And we had a really intense battle. Like it was all over my bumper the whole race. And you know, just the tiniest little mistake on my part and he would have been gone, but I just kept it together, kept it clean, didn't make any errors, and brought it home in first. So overall, gained another couple points today and 4 yesterday, so I think I'm about 22 points up going into the last weekend, which is good. You know, I'd like to have a few more, but it'll be fine. I had to adapt my driving style a little bit to the different tires, the heavier wheels, and just kind of traction more in the brakes and less in the traction zones. By the second race, I kind of had a handle on that and made it work, so it was good close competition all day. Portage La Prairie did an awesome job supporting the Winnipeg Sports Car Club and putting on this awesome event. The venue's great, the weather was awesome, it was a really great weekend. It was a lot of races, 12 races in 2 days, which is exhausting, but it was a really good weekend.
Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the episodes.